Hello, it's Shifty here. I'm sitting outside the Perth Mint and I'm extremely fortunate to be sitting next to one of the gurus of the Perth and WA music scene, Carroll.
When I first arrived in Perth, 89, 90, I can't remember when it was, you know, people in Sydney thought that Perth was a bit of a joke. And of course it isn't. Perth's a great place, it's a very creative place.
You've got some experience yourself of working with Sony. I mean, what do you think are the kind of failings of the big record labels?
The failing of the big record labels is that they tend to be occupied by people who are not interested in music, and that's kind of a sad thing to say, but these days more and more record companies are run by accountants. They're run by people who are only interested in how much money we're going to get in the door this month, not how a band is going to develop over 3 albums. And it's all short term. I don't want to knock major record companies. I've worked for them for a long time, but you know, when it comes to music, you're talking about people's careers, people's creativity, and so on, and therefore it should be dealt with the sensitivity that it deserves. It's not just, you know, how many dollars have you managed to shove in the account this month. Well, there's been loads of great records that come out on major record companies, so I'm not knocking that. But I think these days they're in a bit of a spin, and I think that sadly they're run by fucking accountants.
As a kind of, I don't know, 18, 19-year-old at the time, I'm kind of sitting down in a kind of bedroom in London, and this kind of sound came out of Manchester, you know, with like the first Stone Roses album, and I started listening to Pills, Thrills and Bellyaches by the Happy Mondays, and to me it was just like this sound had just come from nowhere. It was just like it arrived by magic, and you know, I just wondered if you could kind of give us an insight as to how it kind of really happened, because it obviously doesn't happen just by magic, you know.
Well, you know what, the interesting thing about that is that it was local music. That's where it was. Stone Roses, I remember well before anyone outside of Manchester knew anything, you know, about Stone Roses. Stone Roses were pulling crowds, and just as if you live in Perth, you know, there are great local bands. You know, the Roses and the Mondays were bands that were just trying to do something in Manchester, and fortunately they broke through, you know. But you know, the Mondays couldn't play music at first, you know. They figured it out as they went along. It was part of the, you know, the punk ethic of you know, learning to play a few chords, and eventually something really interesting emerges as a consequence, and we're seeing that all over. We're seeing it in Perth, you know. It's no different.